Good morning. I'm just getting over a cold, so I haven't been running as much recently. You can still hear it in my voice a little bit, but I feel like running fast today. So what I'm going to do right now actually is, ever since I got the Puma Fast Star 3, I really wanted to try that against the ASICS Metaspeed Edge, and I also want to pull back out the Adidas Adios Pro 4 and kind of do a fast mile challenge between those three shoes and see how they feel and what kind of paces I'm able to get up to in each of them. But right now I want to warm up a little bit, and I'm wearing a heavy shoe that I don't like to give me the great feeling when I switch to those. So right now I'm wearing the Brooks Glycerin Max, which to me I think is the most disappointing hyped up shoe that I've ever purchased. Usually I do a lot of research before I buy a shoe because no one sends me shoes, so if I'm going to be wearing them and reviewing them, I'm kind of hoping I'm going to like them. But these are ones where when I got them I just really was not that inspired, and it remains that way. So let's do some boring, uninspired warm-up and then get into the fast shoes. Okay, I did the warm-up mile in 7:53. It's kind of cool today, but it's very humid, so this is not going to be a fun run for me today. I'm going to be sweating a lot. Okay, the first fast shoe up is the ASICS Metaspeed Edge Paris. And it feels like my feet have taken Ozempic. Switching from the Glycerin Max to these, it's like I lost 100 pounds on my feet. Like I was wearing ankle weights and I took them off. These are 7 and change ounces, whereas those other ones are I think 12 something ounces, so they're literally almost half the weight. So that's immediately going to make a big difference. Obviously two shoes designed for a different task. These are your speed race day shoe, those are more your daily easy shoe, but a significant difference in weight. Also a significant difference in width. That's a big theme with these three shoes that I'm going to be using now. They're all very narrow, very streamlined, thin uppers, narrow in the heel. So to me these are all kind of optimized for top speed, where you're trying to run as fast as you can. But I think for all three of these shoes, the longer the distance, the less likely I would be to use them because they have less stability. And they just seem to work better for me when I'm pushing all out. When I slow down a little bit in longer races, that's really not where these shoes are at their best. So let's see what I got this morning in these three fast shoes. All right, so I think that was a 6:10. Felt really good at the start. This humidity is tough today. One thing that's unfortunate though, whenever I'm like running a mile and coming home, I always end up finishing on a giant hill. So right at the end of the mile, when I'm trying to push, I gotta run up a hill. But I guess it's good training. So next, I'm gonna do the Puma Fast Star 3, and then I'll give some thoughts on both shoes after running in both of them. All right, so I just put the Pumas on, and immediately you can feel the difference in the midsole compound between these two shoes. This has much more of a soft and bouncy feeling than the ASICS foam. The ASICS foam is more firm, more direct. This shoe feels more rockered and it feels more bouncy. So let's see how the mile goes. So the Pumas are the Jalen Brunson of running shoes right now, coming through in the clutch. Shout out to the Knicks winning game 5 yesterday. At least that one didn't come down to the last minute for once. Now back to Indiana, but back to the shoe review at hand here. Puma has leveled up the midsole with this shoe. Garbage trucks, landscapers, hopefully you can hear me all right. But what I mean by leveling up the midsole, so much more bounce from this shoe. The toe off feels amazing. These really feel like they're propelling you. They're much more assistive than the ASICS shoe. So the ASICS shoe is light and fast, but the foam feels more firm. It doesn't sink in as much. It's very direct. So if you like a firmer feeling shoe, you can really run fast in this shoe. But this one to me kind of splits the difference between that and the Alpha Fly, which is incredibly bouncy with those AirPods. This kind of is right in between the two, lighter than both of them, manages to have some of that bounce and propulsiveness of the Alpha Fly, but more of that grounded, light feeling of the ASICS. So really impressive shoe. I don't know if I mentioned, I ran a 6:01 in the Puma, so I was about 9 seconds faster than the ASICS. Now I'm in the Adios Pro 4. And one thing just right off the bat, if you have a wide foot, avoid all three of these shoes. These are three of the tightest fitting shoes that I own. They're very light, very tight, very fast. But if you have a wide foot or need stability in the heel, none of these are really a good option. So it looks like a 6:11 in the Adidas, which is 1 second off of the ASICS. So I'll call that a wash, if not maybe a push, because this is my 4th mile. So you would expect me to slow down a little bit as I keep going here. So a good showing from the Adidas. These are 3 similar in spec, similar in weight shoes, but with a completely different experience running in them. I'll get into more detail when I get back inside, but these are by far the softest and the bounciest. So if you like a soft, bouncy feeling, these have it. These feel light and bouncy and rockered. That's really what you're getting from them. I don't feel the presence of the rods in these though. I don't have that really strong toe off. It kind of tips you onto that extreme rocker to get you moving forward, but these do have that bouncy propulsive feeling that I like over a longer race like a marathon, where you feel like you're getting some assistance from the shoe to help you kind of tick along. I feel like the ASICS are the most aggressive of the 3. I feel like you can kind of push and run your fastest in them because they're not bouncing, they're not sinking into the ground as much. These ones are the bounciest. They give you the most energy return, but it's less directed. They're a little bit more wild because the foam is so soft. And then the Puma's kind of split the difference. I really like the geometry of the forefoot of the Puma, the shape of that plate. It just rolls really nicely. The combination of the energy return of the foam getting you onto the plate and rolling you forward, it feels really assistive and propulsive moving you forward. All right, so let's get into these shoes a bit. I'll put my chart back up on the screen where I keep track of the weight and drop of the shoe. I also added a column for grams. I used to just have ounces on there. I converted everything to grams as well. So you're welcome for anybody who likes it in grams. But you can see these 3 shoes are towards the bottom of the lightest, towards the top of the list for the lightest, but the bottom of the list physically for what are the lightest shoes that I own. So you can see these are all in a size 12. The Adios Pro 4 is 8.15 ounces, 231 grams. The Edge Paris is 7.71 ounces, 218 grams. And the Fast Star Elite 3 is 7.23 ounces, 205 grams. So that is the lightest of any of the shoes that I have. But to be honest, all 3 of these shoes are so light. On foot, you really can't feel that much difference between them. We're talking, you know, grams here of difference between the 3. They're all in a size 12. One has a 39 mil drop, 39.5 and 40, so they're all right up to that legal limit. And then in the forefoot, 33, 34.5, and 32. So 6, 5, and 8 millimeter drop. To be honest, I've run in so many shoes now, the drop really doesn't mean that much to me anymore. I just adapt to whatever shoe I'm using. So that doesn't really factor that much into how I feel about the shoe. As I mentioned, the specs of these are all pretty similar, but how they feel and how they perform is completely different. So it's pretty surprising when you wear these three right after each other, how different they actually are in the way that they feel. One thing that they do share in common, they all have tight fitting uppers. They're on the narrow side as far as these types of shoes go. So none of these are very wide in the heel. None of them have a lot of room in the upper. So again, if you have a wide foot, I would say avoid all three of these. The Puma actually has the most room in the toe box. In a size 12, with both the Adidas and the ASICS, I kind of wish I got a 12.5, but I think a 12.5 might actually be a little bit too big. I need like a 12.25. Give me a little bit more room in the toe box. But the Puma actually has the most room in the toe box of the three, but this is still a very thin, tight-fitting upper overall. I am a larger runner, so in general, I prefer shoes to feel a little bit more firm. When they get too soft, that I sink into them too much and they kind of drag me down a bit. So I'm getting a little bit of that with the Adios Pro 4, but it really does have nice energy return. You can feel this shoe bouncing and kind of giving you that extra little bit of push as you're running. So I could see this being a very good marathon shoe for a lot of people, but I think you need to be a smaller runner, not as large as me, not as heavy as me, so you're not compressing this this foam as much. So I did definitely feel that assistance, that kind of cruisy feeling that I like in a marathon shoe from this shoe. But again, as I mentioned, it's very steep, the drop here. It kind of wants you to be more aggressive, which I'm not going to be pushing it like that when I'm running a marathon. So I think the geometry of this one just doesn't work as well for me. And in a size 12, it's very narrow and a little bit short. Usually I'm always good with the 12 with Adidas shoes. I ran a 10-mile race in this shoe and my toe was rubbing against the top of the midsole or top of the upper here, and they were very uncomfortable in that 10-mile race. So I only think I would take these for up to a 10K. I think they're too soft for me to run a half marathon or a marathon distance in. Then the other side of the spectrum is the ASICS Metaspeed Sky Paris, where this has a much firmer feeling foam. It's definitely the firmest of the three. It does still have energy return. You feel some bounce from the shoe, but the plate is very present here. This is a really stiff shoe, very difficult to bend. So it gives you a lot of responsiveness, a lot of whatever you put into it, you get back. So the harder you run in this shoe, the better it performs, but it's also a little bit unforgiving. So to me, I wouldn't use these for a marathon. It's a little bit too harsh. I want a little bit softer, a little bit bouncier than what this one gives me. But if I'm trying to run 1 mile flat out or like a 5K, I feel like this is great for that. Now this Puma shoe is giving me Hannah Montana vibes right now. It's the best of both worlds. I don't know if anybody gets that reference, but what I really like about this is I'm getting that aggressive feeling that I get from the ASICS shoe, but more of that soft, bouncy feeling that I'm getting from the Adidas shoe, and it kind of splits the difference in a really pleasant way, where this has more versatility than both of those two, where I feel like you can go long in this shoe. I proved that. I ran a marathon in these, but I wish they were actually a little bit wider, a little bit softer for the marathon. I didn't perform at absolute best in the marathon, but I am able to do it. I wouldn't take either of those other shoes for a marathon. I feel like the Adidas is too soft and the ASICS is too firm. This one has a nice combination where if you kind of lay off the pace a little bit, you're still getting a nice amount of bounce and energy return from the foam. And I just love the forefoot geometry of this shoe. The rocker is perfect. The amount of foam here, it gives you a nice squishing and gets you onto that plate and just rolls you along. So the shoe feels really bouncy, propulsive, all in a forward direction. So this really gives me that assisted feeling that I like in a marathon shoe, similar to the Alpha Fly, but it's lighter and faster. So again, I think this one skews more towards the shorter distances. I really want to run a 5K in these. I gotta do one sometime soon. I think I can get a new personal best in a 5K wearing this shoe, because I feel like I can push all out in the ASICS, but it's not giving me as much assistance as this one is. The Adidas shoe is bouncing along, but doesn't feel as aggressive or as assistive as this one does. So this one has a really nice balance between being assistive and bouncy. I'll just put the info from my run up on the screen now. So again, I did a mile warm up in the Brooks, 7:51, and then ran a 6:09, 6:02, and a 6:11. So that's about as good as I can do right now. I haven't been doing a lot of really fast work recently. I've been doing a lot of longer runs and marathon training. Now going into the summer, I'm going to be running some shorter races, so I'm going to try and work on my speed again and getting that up. But it felt good to run, close to 6-minute miles in each of those shoes. These are all built for this. Like, they are excellent speed shoes, all three of them. It's just really a matter of personal preference. As I said again, I think if you like a bouncy feeling shoe, this is the bounciest of the three. If you like a firmer feeling shoe, this one feels more firm, more direct. You kind of have more ground feel, and this literally splits the difference between the shoes. It's got the bounce of the Adidas shoe, but doesn't feel as soft, and it has the propulsiveness of the ASICS shoe, but feels more assistive at driving you forward. So let me know in the comments if you've run a race in any of those three shoes. What's your favorite speed shoe right now? And I've seen Kofuzi do in the past, like, how much does a YouTuber make at his level, and he actually has all the numbers out there, which is kind of interesting. So I'm like, wow, maybe one day I could like make money off of this. Not now. How much does a 1,000+ subscriber channel make? I got my first check from YouTube the other day for $119. So after about 2 years, and how many shoes did I buy? I'll break even in, a couple decades. But I do it for the love of the game. So if you're appreciating the content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.